What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin, John.
And we have yet another album review for you this last week of September's. Definitely had some pretty interesting ones we've had on our radar. This one is one that has definitely been on my radar because I absolutely love the last one. We are going to go over the latest offering from Bewitcher, Spell Shock. This also comes out again on the 27th of September on Century Media Records. This band formed in Portland, Oregon in 2013. This is their fourth full-length overall. Shred and I actually went over their last album, Cursed Be Thy Kingdom. I absolutely loved it. It was a year-ender for me. I have been a fan since Under the Witching Cross, which was their second album. I just dig this band's overall style of just, it's classic heavy metal and speed metal mixed with black metal. It's riffs, it's fun, it's very similar to Midnight. I love Midnight. I think by default, if you like Midnight, you're probably going to like this band's bass line. I don't know. You like Midnight? What do you think of this band?
I like Midnight. This band has Portland, Oregon written all over on them. I didn't know that's where they were from, but now that you say it, now it just makes total sense. Yeah. And I mean, I love Midnight, so I guess by proxy, I love Bewitcher. I've never really jammed them a whole lot, but I mean, once again.
There's an air of familiarity. And, I mean, this is a style of music that I generally just love because it's all about riffs and fun. And it's more about, like, the energy than it is about, like, technicality and showing off and being super flashy. Like, this is about just delivering a good time. Or if you're a club owner, delivering a time that makes you kind of worry about, like, you know, like, oh, God, is this crowd going to just tear this place apart again? Been a lot of shows like that. Yep. And going into this one, again, I had, like, high expectations because I think Cursed Be Thy Kingdom is possibly their best album. And this album is, I mean, well, first off, it's very much Bewitcher. Like, not a lot has really changed. The style is very much still rooted in, again, black metal, heavy metal, a touch of thrash, and definitely a lot of, like, old school speed metal.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Midnight is not the only band I would compare this to. Like, there's a ton of Motorhead. There are moments on here that flat out remind me of Kill 'Em All, Exciter, and definitely a lot of Venom. All things that I enjoy, and this album is just chock full of riffs, D-beats, fun sing-along choruses, growl-along. I don't know. You can just scream along with them. There's good gang vocals.
Yeah.
It's pretty much Bewitcher, as I pretty much expected them.
It's just grossly entertaining. I mean, all of this just sounds like a ton of fun. It sounds like a night of smashed beer bottles and felonies.
Yeah, these songs sound fun to actually either play or listen to after, you know, 8 or 9 beers and like a horror movie binge. Like, that's like the mood setter before you're like, yeah, let's just, you know, let's go a show. You driving? Probably shouldn't, but yeah.
Drink this bottle of Jameson and then fight the cops.
And honestly, like, that's kind of the energy on here too, because there's a fair amount of punk too. Out Against the Law, like, I swear, that song does want to fight a cop. Like,
it does.
It's just all D-beats, it's sleazy, it's got tons of Motorhead energy, and D-beats are, like, kind of the main driving force in terms of the rhythm section here. Like, a lot of this is just driven by either D-beats or, like, kind of like thrashy blast sections. And occasionally some good groovy pockets, but a lot of this, it's very up-tempo, it's very energetic. The songs feel like sleazy anthems for, you know, vandalism, maybe setting an abandoned hospital on fire. I don't know, you know, fun things that kids do in Portland.
And I know we made a direct comparison to Midnight, which is definitely true. You can't escape that. But I think this band just has a little bit more finesse in their presentation. Like, first of all, while the riffs are comparable to Midnight, I mean, they're definitely drawing from that same well of bands in the past. Again, a lot of Motorhead, Judas Priest, a lot of big, like, classic rock vibes. But these guys just take it a little bit above and beyond where Midnight is and add like a little bit more dynamic to their riffs. Seasons of Foul Harvest has thrashy aggression written all over it. There's a lot of like big stomping moments. Again, fist pumping is a big thing for this band. Like in Spell Shock, that chorus, Spell Shock.
Yeah.
How can you deny that?
Dude, gang vocals are infectious.
Yep. Or straight up darker riffs like We Die in Dust. There's dark tremolos on there. There's some really catchy harmonies. The leads, while they're not flashy, they're tasty.
They're fun. They are, again, like just very much rooted in like classic 80s heavy metal. I mean, even some stuff that's kind of on the border of like hard rock versus heavy metal. Yeah. Like you can just kind of hear that just because there's like a lot of like bluesy licks that come up in the leads. We Die in Dust in particular kind of stands out to me because it kind of walks this fine line between like sinister, more blackened heavy metal and like kind of a flat out like 80s hard rock song. The way the riffs are constructed, or at least how they progress, I think is just really clever because they kind of open up the riff with like a good bright hook. Like, yeah, all right, man, that's like almost kind of like Van Halen-ish if, you know, they were like wearing corpse paint or something. But as the riff goes on, it starts getting a little bit more sinister. Like it starts off with like more major chords and descends into minor chords. And there's that frequent sort of give and take. So you got this kind of like wave you ride. And then by the time you get down to the awesome bridge on that song, which this band is excellent about taking a bridge for a walk and just having fun with it. This bridge in particular, you actually get some like sinister tremolo riffs, and then it just kind of goes into these just fun riff changes and leads. We Die in Dust actually stands out as being a more mid-tempo song overall, up until you get to this bridge too. That's when the D beats kick in, just like the rest of the album where the D beats are just ever so present. You know, they couldn't do one song without a D beat, which I'm totally fine with because I mean, I kind of love that whole vibe anyway, and yeah, I'm a huge Midnight fan. But this whole bridge is kind of like the most rowdy part of the song, and how it transitions back into that main hook, that main riff that got you there in the opening part. I love it. It's a subtle, just kind of fun transition, and I just love the whole vibe of the song, just kind of showing off that they could write, like, probably like some great AOR, like classic rock songs, but it's like, nah, dude, we need like Satan in this thing.
And another great example of darker and heavier would be the Harem Conspiracy, which actually has some double kick in there and a little bit darker grooves and like a tribal groovy part. And they just kind of open up a little bit more. While that song's still really aggressive, it's also, again, really dark and really heavy.
Yeah, no matter how aggressive this gets, like, it's always fun. There's always catchy riffs. Like, every single song in here, there's always some, like, good hooky riff. Like, I feel like I'm very familiar with that riff. And a lot of this, I mean, is very familiar territory. If you love 80s heavy metal, you're going to hear a lot of stuff that's just like, oh my God, where did I hear this before? I'm reasonably sure I heard this in 1982. This band is pretty much what happens when you play Judas Priest, Stained Class, and Bathory Self-Titled at the same time. Like, that's how you summon them. You play both of those at the same time, they show up, and then they ask you, A, where's the beer, and B, what can we destroy for you? And then you point them in the direction of your neighbor that you don't like. And then after that, you throw like a bonfire and have a party. It sounds like a good time.
That's a good idea. When I go home tonight, that's what I'm doing. The deckheads above me are going to love it.
It's meat and potatoes classic heavy metal, but it's like blackened meat and potatoes, and it's served with an absolutely just liver-crushing amount of beer. And I love that. Like, the whole vibe of this album is just flat-out fun. And if you're a sucker for just catchy riffs, it's easy to get these songs stuck in your head. There's not a tremendous amount of variety, but honestly, like throughout their discography, you know, the formula really hasn't changed. The only thing that might have changed is maybe like some of the production, which this production, I don't know. I don't know if I like it as much as the production that was on Cursed Be Thy Kingdom. It's a little bit more raw and snarly. While I do like that in a band, because it does kind of capture their live vibe, and we've seen these guys a couple of times at least, and they put on a killer live show. I do think it kind of harms the more melodic aspects a bit, because like when those harmonies come in, I don't know, they don't feel as bright as they usually do.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the grit for like a lot of the heavier, kind of punkier parts in here. Like, that's where it really works. Like, the guitar tone snarls. Like,
it does.
There's this kind of like fuzzy sizzle to it. It kind of lurks, again, like somewhere between punk and metal. It's metal riffs, but played on like some like punk kid's guitar that he clearly hasn't taken much care of, and like it's probably thrown around the stage or in his apartment or at his parents', you know, whatever he's done. And part of that might be due to the fact that this was produced by Lars Frederiksen of, well, formerly of Rancid. I don't know if he's still with Rancid. He's got a lot of different bands, but he's a punk guy. And I think that kind of works with like the punky energy in here.
I mean, if that's what they were going for, and it sounds like that's what they were going for. All these songs just kind of have a big punky FU vibe. I guess one negative I could pull from this would be that the album takes a moment to get going. Like the first song, the opening track, Starfire Maelstrom, it's there. It's a track. It's punky. It's got a couple catchy moments, but it's not a real strong opener.
Yeah, it really kind of like dry humps that opening riff. And I mean, all right, a lot of these songs like dry hump riffs, and generally I have no problem with that. Like, because if the riff's awesome, I'm totally cool with it. Like the Harem Conspiracy, that riff is pretty much locked on the entire song, but I really dig that riff. This opening song, it kind of gets stuck in one section, and granted, yeah, it's a good riff, but it doesn't change. And then there's this whole transition to this like really cool, groovy kind of almost like Thin Lizzy-esque sort of bridge. And I was like, oh, we're gonna ride this out into the sunset, because it kind of happens towards the end of the song,
right?
And it just shifts back to the main riff in a very abrupt transition.
And then it ends. And then you're like, dude, why?
Yeah.
And then my second gripe would be is that outside of the third song, Spell Shock, and the chorus, the fist pumping Spell Shock, like, I feel like the first 4 songs you could really just kind of interchange as far as melody and riffs are concerned, because they all have kind of the same vibe. And that was a gripe I had, because everything after Out Against the Law, it really kind of comes alive. Like, the songs breathe a little bit more, there's a little bit more dynamic to them, they're a little bit darker, they change from a D beat to like sometimes just a straightforward rock beat, it gets heavier at times, but the album took a minute to get going, and that kind of threw me off.
Yeah, the album kind of took a little bit to get its footing. Lavish Desecration, while I really like that song, like, it's got a great hooky chorus, it's a rowdy mosher. Again, I feel like they kind of did that, a little bit better later on. And again, I agree with them. The songs kind of opened up a little bit more. Like, this is, again, like very straightforward, very old school, like classic heavy metal with like a blackened varnish on it. But, I mean, its roots, like, it's meat and potato stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean everything has to be super simplified, because they kind of show you in here that, yeah, like, you can have some really cool dynamics, some fun transitions, and like, killer harmonies and great hooks, and kind of mix it up a bit. But those first 4, outside of, again, the title track and Lavish Desecration, I don't know, like, it is kind of missing something that the album definitely claims later on. Yeah. Outside of that, though, honestly, I dig this. And this is more like about energy and about vibe. Like, 100% this captures the vibe of this band live. They absolutely just throttle you with riffs live, and it's just a fun energy. You can just see it in the crowd. And I mean, honestly, like, while the songs are kind of similar, it's like kind of running into like the same looking dudes you see at a metal show. They're just all wearing different metal shirts. Like, hey, it's the dude with long hair and a goatee that's in an Iron Maiden shirt, and there's the other dude with a long hair and goatee, but he's wearing a Bathory shirt. Are they related? It's like, no, they're just metalheads. We all kind of look a bit the same.
Right. That's kind of what happens in metal shows. You all look the same, but you're all wearing different shirts, and that's cool.
We don't have a uniform, but we kind of do.
But we don't. But we do.
We definitely do.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I don't like it as much as the last one. That is not to say this is a bad album. Honestly, this packs just as much fun as they usually do. I just don't think it's quite as dynamic as the last one. But this is still just pure fun. Like, this is all about D beats, energy. You will definitely be banging your head to this. These riffs are catchy and infectious. I love the blackened snarl to the vocals, but it's still very hooky and catchy. This is like evil party music. Like, you're throwing a kegger, but you're also possibly committing a human sacrifice or something like that. Either way, it would score both perfectly. That or, a night of just pizza, beer, and a horror movie binge. Put this on the background. Yeah. I think the ambiance is absolutely set. If you're a big fan of Midnight, especially, like, very, very close. Also, maybe like a little bit of Toxic Holocaust.
Yeah.
And again, like, classic shit. Like, Venom, early Bathory, especially that first one. Classic Judas Priest, too. And, I mean, a lot of Motorhead. Check this album out. It's a lot of fun. Perfect for spooky season.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I actually completely agree with Nick. It's a 3.5 for me as well. My biggest gripe, again, is the beginning of the record, that it took a minute to get going. But once it gets going, you have no choice but to bang your head. The riffs are infectiously catchy. There are great harmonies, great transitions. It just sounds like fun. Sounds like a high school kegger and a adult Halloween party mixed all into one.
Is that the one where you like put the car keys in the bowl? And,
yeah.
Everyone's wearing a mask and there's like, eyes wide shut. Yeah.
Yep.
Did that take place at Halloween? I don't know. It looked like a fun party.
Yeah, looked like a great party. Anyway, yeah, it just reminded me of that. Like, this band's a definitely good time, and once they got going, they really got going, and the songs opened up more, and it just became a whole lot more fun. So yeah, if you like Venom, Midnight, Committing Arson, you know, you're probably going to really dig this. But yeah, Metallica, old Judas Priest, definitely a ton of Motorhead. Again, definitely a ton of Midnight. I can't stress that enough. You're probably really going to like this. This record is a very good time, so check it out.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you were new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are, for the time being, on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also in our channel in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. Again, I say we are, for the time being, in there because we are eventually going to switch over to memberships here, probably relatively soon. And hopefully that's just easier than the Patreon thing. Anyway, though, Thrallsmetal.com, that is where our store is, and we have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size, and we even have hats, too, so if you're looking for and that stuff, click the link down below.
And as always, tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal, album reviews, discography rankings, multiple discussion forums, multiple various segments, is it metal, is it not metal, states of metal, Nick's never-ending collection updates, blah, 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 blah. We just keep it coming, because you guys keep showing up, and we appreciate you. Thank you to all of our family, our friends, our subscribers, everybody that helps make Thralls of Metal really fucking awesome. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule, and again, tons of content coming your way, and eventually I will get back to other segments other than collection updates, but for now, collection updates, because I got a lot to catch up on.
Who knew?
I know. It's like I bought a lot of albums or something. Either way, thank you guys so much for all your support, and we will catch you later.